Hi, everyone. SPR Videos. I'm Peter Loshak. This is the Into the Weekend with BetDSI show for NFL Week 14. Of course, we are on the phone with Brent, the head lines manager at DSI Sportsbook. Brent, the first game I really want to ask you about, interested to hear what you have to say about it. The Pats at Houston, right? The Pats off of two consecutive straight-up losses, a very unusual spot for them to be in. Is the public betting on them here? I got to assume yes. Did any sharp action come in on this game? I don't know. I would guess that the sharps are as confused about this game as I am, actually.
You're confused, are you, Peter?
Very confused, Brent, and more than normal.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, how do you react? I mean, New England's lost a couple of games in a row, and it was interesting last week, especially with that line with Philadelphia at New England. Then we talked about how we had a lot of sharp money on Philadelphia early in the week, and that line got driven down all the way down to like 7.5. And then just like maybe half an hour before kickoff, boom, all this money came flying in on New England. Now it wasn't particularly sharp money, but it was people who had had deep pockets. So it was interesting that the sharps drove the number way down, and then all the late money came on New England. It was all public money, deep pocket money. So basically, I mean, we had sharp guys coming in on 10 and 9.5 and 9 on Philadelphia all through the day, and then boom, it went all the way down to 7.5, and they bet it all the way back. It was. I mean, we closed 9.5, I think it was as well. So it was interesting how the line bounced back like it was. Looking this week, yeah, I mean, so far I gotta get out my calculator to figure out how much more action I have in favor of New England. It's all one side, and it's like 8-1 right now in the number of bets I've taken in favor of New England, and my money's way one-sided as well. I don't have any sharp action on either side of this game either. So we're sitting at 3 minus 130. Will that go up to 3.5? I'm sure it will. It's just it's got to go because I haven't got anything back on Houston at all.
All right, and then so you told us about how last week with the Pats Eagles, you took a big sharp action on the Eagles driving the line down, and then big deep-pocketed non-sharp action on the Pats that drove the line back up. And I'm wondering when it came to the Denver game at San Diego if it was the exact same thing, because you told us in our call that you took a notable sharp action on San Diego as a home dog against Denver, but then the line closed at about 5.5. So something pushed the Denver line way up, and I'm wondering what that was all about. Was that also public money betting Denver up at the end?
It was a little bit of both. I mean, we had Denver money, public money all through the week. That kind of didn't change. I mean, our count, I think we touched on last week, my count was way one side. If you go back and play it, it was probably like 4 or 5-1 in favor of Denver. So that basically didn't change in terms of the public action. But I did have some deeper pockets and respectable money. I mean, decent sharp bets when the line just got as low as possible around. I think we were like 3.5 minus 15 and 4 on Denver. So it did get driven back up, and that's the kind of thing. Like, I get asked a lot of time, can you see where this line's going to end up at? I'm like, on Thursdays and Fridays I get that question. Like, I don't know. I mean, if you tell me where the sharp action is going to come in, I'll move my line right now. I mean, if you tell me that they're going to pound the heck out of Green Bay this week, well, I'm going to 7 minus 15 instead of 6.5 where we are right now.
So then, we have to look at this Oakland-Denver game. I mean, I'm assuming that if the Denver line got driven up last week, that you're going to get big action on Denver this week, maybe from the sharps, maybe from definitely from the public. And I'm wondering if any sharp action has come in as yet on Oakland on the other side. Denver's about a 7 or 7.5 point home favorite.
Denver is a 6.5 point favorite.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
And you know why? Yeah, no.
Okay,
I mean,
sharp action did come in.
You wonder if sharp action? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if I look at my count, it's about 3-1 in favor of Denver. So let's assume that I'm still going to get public money on Denver this week as well. We're sitting 6.5 right now in a total of 43.5, and I've got money, sharp money on Oakland +8. And also even at +7, I had another sharp guy take the money line +260 on Oakland, like them winning outright. But +8 was the first hit from a real sharp, and 7 as well was a later play. So right now, my money favors Oakland. My count is way one-sided in terms of Denver.
There you go. There's the answer. When I previewed this game in my video this week, I closed it by saying, I'm going to ask Brent. I'm going to find out if any sharp action came in on Oakland. The answer is a clear yes. All right. And then another game with a similar line and maybe a similar betting profile is Atlanta at Carolina, right? Carolina's been a great bet ATS all year long. Last week, though, they won but lost against the spread. And Atlanta, of course, has lost a ton of games in a row against the spread. Got to assume Carolina, huge public side here. And maybe sharp action on Atlanta. I don't know. Have you taken any yet?
This is probably the heaviest bet game I have so far this week in terms of the betting dollar volume I have. Mm-hmm. My count is very much one-sided in terms of Carolina, so I've got a lot of public money on Carolina. we talk about, the sharps and the value of the number. This is one of those cases where it's all about the number. I took sharp action early on Carolina at -7, -120. So the line was 7.5. They bought a half point down at 7. So 7 -20 was sharp, and then that line got driven up all the way up to, I think it was like we were up to 9 for quite some time. Sharps came back on Atlanta +9 as well. So I've got sharp actions on both sides of this game. Again, I talked about the sharp money on Carolina -7, -20, Atlanta +9, so we're sitting at 8 kind of by default. But as of right now, public money all over Carolina, sharps on both sides of this one, Peter.
And which of the sharp accounts would you consider to be sharper? The ones that took Carolina or the ones that took Atlanta?
Honestly, I would say the Atlanta +9 was the sharper of the two.
Okay.
But both of the people or these who are involved in this game are guys who what we call on the list, Peter.
Some people, I could see some sharp guys just betting Carolina because they know the line's going to get bet up, just like with the Minnesota, Arizona game last night. I mean, I could see a sharp guy betting on Arizona at the opening line of 7, even if I don't necessarily think it has big value because they're sure that the line's going to get bet way up, which in fact it did.
Yeah. No, this is a case though where, I mean, the guy who laid it is not a guy who's going to bet both sides of the game.
Right.
And the guy who took it is not the guy who's going to take it just because it's going to go back down. These are
Right.
guys who think they're on the right side of the game.
All right, great information. Brent from BetDSI, thank you so much. 3 great games that we discussed already. And is there anything else that you can tell us from the rest of the card, NFL Week 14, that might be of interest to us?
Pittsburgh's one of those scary teams. I've talked to them before. They're kind of the team. They're sitting at 7-5, but I mean, if they make the playoffs, I don't think anyone wants to play Pittsburgh. And this is obviously a real big game for them this week. They're at Cincinnati. I mean, the line's been bouncing between like 2.5 -15 to 3 back and forth. And I'm just mentioning this game because it's probably the second highest wagered game of the week. I've got sharp money on both sides of this game. Cincinnati -2.5, -10 when the line got driven down later in the week, and the +3 -120 on Pittsburgh early in the week. So sharps took Pittsburgh early in the week, and they also laid Cincinnati late in the week. So it's all about the number, of course, the 2.5 and the 3, but obviously these guys have strong opinions on the game and differing opinions as well. So I think this line is going to balance between, like 2.5 -15 and 20 to 3.20, maybe 3 -15 back and forth. So it's a really heavily wagered game, and the total as well has got some quite a lot of debate. We're up to 50 right now, just because I got a ton of public money on the over. My count there is about 4-1 on the over, a lot of public money there, but I do have sharp money on the over 48. I have sharp money under 50, but we're still sitting 50 just because I've got so much more public money on the over. So it's just a really heavily bet game. I just want to mention that, Peter. I got a ton of sharp action this week. It's scary because, there's a lot of weeks where we got 4 or 5 games. There's 8 sharp plays we have here, so I'm just going to fire right through them.
Wow, really? Excellent. It's an early Christmas here at SBR Videos.
Well, we'll find out. First off, is Buffalo at... Yeah, we'll see Sunday night. Buffalo at Philadelphia. I got sharp action on Philadelphia when it was 1.5. So Philadelphia +1.5, and even money, even plus even money with sharp action. So Buffalo at Philadelphia. Philadelphia is now like a pick -15, just a slight favorite, but the +1.5 was sharp there with Philadelphia. I have the Washington-Chicago game. I've got Chicago the side, -3, -120 was sharp. We're sitting at 3.5 right now. I also have sharp action on the under of that game. Under 44 was sharp. We're bounced between 43.5 and 43 right now. Weather could be a factor, not sure, but sharps hit that on the under 44. Detroit, huge play. I mean, that line's gone from a pick sharp action minus that 1.5 sharp action minus 2.5 sharp action.
Right.
We're seeing Detroit -3, dog 15 right now. They're at St. Louis, but my count is way one-sided in terms of Detroit, almost like 5-1 in terms of the number of bets I've taken. My money's way one-sided on them as well. So I've taken heavy, big hits, pick -1.5 and -2.5, all on Detroit at St. Louis this week. San Diego and Kansas City, the under there was a sharp play. The under 45.5. We're sitting at 45 right now. Again, I've got more bets on the over, more sharp action on the under there. New Orleans at Tampa Bay. We're sitting Tampa Bay -4.5, -115 right now. Sharp action early in the week on Tampa Bay -4, -5. And if you go back weeks and weeks and weeks, you know that Tampa Bay already beat New Orleans in New Orleans. So
sure.
The line's been beat up. But Tampa Bay -4, -05 was sharp. Oakland Houston +8, +7. We touched on them being a sharp play as well. And the Dallas Green Bay game, I have sharp action on the total on the under 43.5. Again, weather may be a factor in that one.
Yeah.
Sitting at 42.5 right now in terms of the total, but under 43.5 was sharp. And if you count them all up, I think that's like 8 plays we got. That is a ton of sharp action for the week, Peter.
Brent from BetDSI, thanks so much. We will talk to you again next week for NFL Week 15.